Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Rob Motive JT. Almost forgot who I am. That's what happens when you have three channels, right? Rob Motive, Hybrid Driven, my newest name change channel for the Prius that I have coming over there. Still can't believe I'm saying that. I'm buying a Prius, but man, that car is awesome. At least I think it is. We're going to find out. But anyway, today I want to talk about leasing versus buying a Jeep Gladiator. You know, when I first started out on my car acquisition adventure, I would go both ways. I would lease and I would buy. I found that I got to the point of leasing, or I decided to lease, because I was really into vehicles that I couldn't afford. And leasing was a way to get those vehicles at a payment that I could deal with, right? Because you're only really paying for part of the vehicle, because in the end you don't own it. You're renting it, really. Now, the problems I had with leasing, one was that I didn't own it. I never felt like I really owned any vehicle that I had, like I was just borrowing it. And I didn't really like that. I didn't have that sense of ownership satisfaction, if that makes any sense. And I know that might not bother some people if you're sitting in it and you've got the keys and you bought the registration, which you have to go through the originating company for, by the way. That can be a pain. Maybe you feel like you own it anyway, but I never did. And speaking of that registration, that was always a drag too. You know, you had to have the power of attorney or whatever it was from the lease origination company so that you could go into the BMV or DMV or whatever it's called in your area and pick up your registration. I had a problem with that once. They didn't send it to me. And the excuse is that I didn't give them the right address. And I'm like, what do you mean I didn't give you the right address? I bought the thing. You took my information when I got it. I didn't buy it, I leased it. But you took my information when I was at the dealership. It was all fine then when I handed over that down payment. Who knows? It was not a fun experience. So maybe that just put a bad taste in my mouth. I don't know. Next up is what you can do with it. You know, I like modding my vehicles. Taking things off, putting things on. You really can't do that because you don't own it. It's kind of like when you rent an apartment, let's say. You rent an apartment, you decide you don't like the carpet, or you don't like the color of the walls, or maybe you hate the kitchen and you want to change something, a remodel. Well, you can't do that because you don't own it. And even if you get a landlord that will let you do it, and a lot of landlords probably would at your cost, because they're going to reap the benefits when you leave, right? I mean, if you put a fresh coat of paint on the wall or brand new carpeting, but still, it's money you're going to lose, assuming they let you do it all. And that's the same way with a leased Gladiator. You know, you lift it, let's say, or put new wheels and tires on, you're not going to get anything for that. Matter of fact, they might ding you for it because you're supposed to return the vehicle in pretty much minus normal wear and tear, whatever that is, when you return it at the end of the lease. Another issue I have is just that, normal wear and tear. When you get a Jeep Gladiator, let's assume that you're going to do some off-roading in it. I mean, I realize that most people don't. I know there's a lot of comments on here where people claim that's what everybody buys them for, but in the end, most people don't. And I think a big reason for that is they cost so much freaking money. I mean, who's going to spend 60 grand on a Jeep Gladiator and then go out and beat the heck out of it? Not a lot of people do it, and a lot of people do it anyway. They're just not into it. But let's say that you do. You're going to take it out, use it for what it was meant for, right? Use it for off-roading. You put some dents in it, some scratches, things like that. They're going to ding, pun intended, you for that. They're going to get out their little measurer thing. Have you ever seen these? They have a card that has circles on it. And if the dents or chips or dings or whatever are outside of that circle, they start adding money to your bill. I've seen them do it before, way back when I leased. I had a car that had a couple little dings in it, probably from parking lots. And they whipped out their little card and they're holding that up. Fortunately for me, I never got hit with any of those costs, but they're looking for it. I mean, it's an extra money-making proposition for the dealership or the leaseholder. they're not going to fix that car. They're going to bring it back in and sell it or release it to somebody else. Assuming, of course, you haven't damaged it so bad that the value of it has been diminished. That was always a problem for me. Scratches is a whole other thing. You might end up paying for a paint job. Well, who in the world wants to do that? Not me. Lastly is the cost. And as I mentioned in the beginning, it does cost less to lease, but that's because you don't own the vehicle. When you sell it, unless you get really lucky, and I've never had this happen, you're gonna probably lose something if you do it before the lease is up. And I'm talking about selling it outright. You can sell off a leased vehicle as long as you pay whatever you would owe the lease company for, or you take it in and drop it off and walk away. Now, when you do that, you don't get any money back. You paid your rent, you got to use that vehicle for X number of months, however long it was, and then you're done. Now, there is another cost, and a lot of people don't realize this. I think they forget, because every time I leased a vehicle, I'll give credit to the finance department. They did point this out. There's a little caveat in little print, you know, that mile-long print thing in the back that says there's a disposition fee. That fee can range anywhere from what I've seen about $350 to $700. It's probably closer to $7 today. I haven't leased in quite a long time. That's money that you have to pay. When you give it back, that's money that you owe. Make sure that you check that number. And if you can get it removed, hey, why not? The best time to address that is when you're in the negotiating phase, right? The last thing that I'll mention, and I don't know that a lot of people understand, you can get out of a lease. You can trade off that leased vehicle early. The problem is, and you've got to know this, is that you're going to be liable for whatever the balance of that lease is, unless you get a leasing company or a dealership that will somehow eat some of that or take it off the price of the next vehicle. And be sure they do have to deal with that. The lease company is going to get their money every time. You might come across a dealer who will say, oh, we'll eat that remaining $1,000 or $2,000. Well, what they're doing is they're building it into the price of the next vehicle. So you're going to pay that no matter what. Anyway, I just wanted to get on here, talk about that a little bit. I don't lease anymore. I buy everything I have. Again, just because I want to own it and I want to be able to do things to it and not have to worry about screwing with a leasing company when it's time to take it back in or drop it off. I never liked that process either. Usually somebody would show up. They will come to your work or your house or whatever to run through your vehicle. Not a very fun experience. Leave a comment. Let me know. Are you an avid leaser, or do you feel the same way that I do? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.